And welcome back to episode 8 of Group Therapy. Hard to believe, but here we are. Group Therapy session number 8. We have taken a couple of breaks, but we're trying to get back consistent with it. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, joined by my fellow editors today. Going to let them introduce themselves real quick. Let's start with you, Rob, on my left.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond. I'm the sports editor here at the Livingston Parish News.
And this is David Gray, lifestyle editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And Mr. David is also in charge of a lot of the COVID stuff, keeping up with the COVID stuff.
Yep, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And we appreciate his diligence with that. And we're going to start off with him today because we do have a bit of good news. We know that some people don't really care, but we understand that there are a lot of people who do care, a lot of businesses that this will make a difference for. Yesterday, Governor said that he'd be issuing a new proclamation that was going to change the way we do masks. So go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, that was the big news from Tuesday's press conference. It's been something that has been kind of hinted at for the last few weeks, especially as there's other states that have taken away their mask mandates, and a lot of people are calling on Governor Edwards to do the same. But he kind of waited, wanted to see how the numbers were going to turn out. Well, now that we've there's over a quarter of the state has been fully vaccinated now, so I mean that number is steadily rising, and cases are at near record lows since we started reporting this stuff. Over a year ago, hospitalizations have been down, percent positivity has been down. So the governor felt that it was now the prudent thing to do to lift that mask mandate. But something that he stressed during the press conference was, yes, he's lifting the mask mandate, but now it's going back to how it was before. I mean, if people don't remember, it wasn't until July that the governor implemented this mask mandate, which was about, what's the math, like 4 or 5 months after the pandemic started. So before that, businesses and, government officials, they had the power to, enforce their own masking policies if they wanted to. So now, and that's something that the governor said, that it's going back to how it was before then. Masks are still going to be recommended, and that's something that Dr. Joe Canner, the state health officer, was saying also. Even though that there's a new policy that you don't have to wear a mask outdoors, that is still going to be the public health recommendation that you always mask up. So yes, it's good news. It's more of a return back to normal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're telling people to just forget about masks entirely.
So masks still going to be needed. A lot of that dealing with outdoor events,
Yes.
Changing the way that people treat that. Speaking of outdoor events, Mr. DeArmond, we are returning, as we often do. I can't say always, but often. Well, it pretty much is always.
You skip it last year, but
Right. We skipped it last year for COVID reasons, but more often than not, there's going to be a Livingston Parish team heading to Sulphur. Try to combine heading and Sulphur. That almost came
crazy
out wrong.
stuff.
But right now, softball heading to Sulphur. We got some baseball updates we'll give to y'all in a minute. But 3 teams, correct?
Yes,
And finals coming up on Saturday. These are semifinals played Thursday and Friday. So give us a breakdown on that.
So you're looking at, we wound up with 3 teams from the parish in the softball tournament in Sulphur. Holden in Class B is the number 2 seed. They will take on Florine, which is the number 3 seed, at 3 o'clock Thursday to try to get to the championship game, which will be Saturday at 3 o'clock at Frash Park. In 2A, you have number 1 Manny taking on number 12 French Settlement, and that'll be Friday at 3 o'clock. Also Friday at 3 o'clock, Doyle, the number 2 seed, will take on Rose Pine. And that championship game will also be at 3 o'clock on Saturday.
We could not catch a break with scheduling, could we?
No, we tell you and I texted back and forth on this. It's just like, man, this is, it's one of those things where you wish you could clone yourself, but you can't,
Right.
It's one of those, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. We'll be there. I'm headed out that way. And, for the Holden folks, I'll finally get to see you guys. It'll be at a state tournament.
Well,
Didn't do that on purpose.
No, we promised we didn't do it on purpose. But before we jump over to baseball, and I know David's been helping out with some baseball here in the parish, taking some photos, plugging
And softball.
And
Well, yeah.
Hey,
Well,
look.
I just meant this week he'd be helping out. But, if you're looking for the man, the myth, legend, Mr. David Gray has been taking a lot of pictures lately. You can check him out on our website, www.livingstonparishnews.com/photo galleries. But, Mr. Rob, there was an announcement. We're not confirming it because we don't know if it's 100% true. But media from Lake Charles has said that they've been in communication with LHSAA and that there would be full capacity at the girls tournament at Sulphur. So tell us what you know about
this
that.
is I'm looking at what I shared on Facebook just to be accurate on it. It's from Hunter Bauer from Go Preps, which is for your power ratings and everything. He's been on the money and pretty accurate. When I write my stories, I consult with his power ratings to make sure. But he said he talked with Eric Zartler from Lake Charles Visitors Bureau, and to quote Mr. Zartler here, no capacity restrictions for fans in park for LHSA softball and baseball championships. That was this morning, and we're doing this Wednesday afternoon. So if that's the case, it may be, back to quote unquote normal, I guess.
Perhaps with some masks.
And that goes with what the new guidelines are from the governor, because
Right.
LSU, if you saw that this week, LSU announced this weekend baseball is going to be 100% in Alex box. So I mean, that's going with the new guidelines where there's no more capacity for outdoor sporting events. So I mean, it's like you said, it's kind of a return to normal. Feel for the kids that didn't have the softball. And I was reading, was it Holden? They won the last softball championship. They're still technically the defending champs.
Technically 3-time champions, even though they didn't play.
Well, so they're going to bring the Thunder, huh?
So yeah,
Bring the Rockets.
A bunch of. It's a lot of the same kids. You lose 3 core players off of those 3 championship teams, but it's a lot of the same kids. Talked to Coach Cifrio this morning, and basically the kids who are 8th graders on this team are the only ones who have not been to the state tournament.
Right. So they'll, plenty of experience.
Yes, absolutely.
So jumping over to the boys' side, we've had a couple of eliminations already. Let's first talk about the shocking one that happened in Watson. That I think that caught a lot of people off guard. Watson, or Live Oak had been in high regard all year, and just kind of as it happens sometimes, the other team's bats came alive right at the end of the game, right when they needed them. And ended up winning the game. Tell us a little bit about that.
I got home from the game I covered. I went to Doyle, which that was a perfect game, by the way, to open things up. We'll get there. But I got home and I started following what was left of the Live Oak game. And at the time, when I first got on the Game Changer, it was tied up. All of a sudden, you see it kind of flip. And I think what happened with, if I remember correctly, there were some errors there for Live Oak, led to a 3-run inning for Ouachita Parish. Live Oak comes back and they pick up a run in the bottom of the 7th, but I think a strikeout to end it. And I was talking with Coach Sandifer last night from Walker about it, and not about this game, but it's just one of those things when you're in 5A, you can kind of expect to see a number 1 pitcher right off the bat in the playoffs, just because you're trying to get to that point and go advance in the next round, and that's basically what you're trying to do. And obviously, this was a stunner. You can judge by some of the comments on Facebook on the post that we had. It caught a lot of people off guard, and I haven't talked to Coach Cassard since then. So, and I'm sure it's kind of stinging them too.
Sure. So, tell us a little bit about a couple of the other teams that were eliminated, and then we'll talk about who's still alive, which includes, as he was saying, he was covering Doyle. Those 3 pitchers combined for a perfect game. So we'll talk about that in a second. But tell us who else is now out.
Let's see. We'll start. Who else do we have? Denham Springs lost to Barb. Denham Springs got in as 32 seed. So I think in the advance I said, as your reward, you get to go play Barb.
Right.
So and I think they're ranked 5th in the nation. I was texting back and forth with Coach Carroll at Denham Springs last night. And he was just the effort that his team put forth. It was 3-0. They got no hit. But he just said the energy that the team played with and everything, it's something that they can build on for next year. He said they started 5 sophomores in that game.
Right. Plenty to build on.
And they wind up getting, he said we wound up throwing 2 guys out at the plate from the outfield. So that's what I texted him back. I said, this is something you guys can build on here. So he said, hope that's how it works. And they'll be starting summer ball here in a few weeks.
So quick.
Yeah. And it just moves so fast. You know how it does.
Oh, yeah.
Know.
So, okay, let's jump to some of the other teams. Let's talk about Doyle. I mean, that's impressive. I know they're number 1 seed. That's just like Denham going to Barb. This is a number 32 team coming in, but I mean that's a good way to start the playoffs.
It's one of those things where you get Andrew Yurtich, who was their number 1 guy. Just he switched his commitment to Southeastern. He's headed over there. He starts out and it's kind of just steady. I think he wound up 8 strikeouts, if I believe. But it's just you just kind of sit there and you kind of that's what they're supposed to do. And then Logan Turner came in and he said that he'd been having trouble finding the strike zone. He struck out all 6 guys he faced.
Yeah.
And then Braden McLean comes in, and I just happened to be in the dugout. I was taking pictures from the dugout, and I heard one of the guys come up, and Coach Beatty said, "Go talk to him. He hasn't pitched in a while." So when we got done, I said, "Braden, when's the last time you pitched?" And it was in March.
Wow.
And he came in, and it took him 4 pitches to get 3 outs. So that's the model of efficiency. But when it's going on, you kind of look at it, and nobody wants to say anything.
Right.
And I think Coach Beatty, he said, I really didn't know until about the 6th inning. I started calling pitches, and they looked over in the 6th inning, and you kind of don't want to say anything. And then as soon as it's over, you go, that was a perfect game, right? Everybody just kind of looks at everybody. Y'all on the same page with this, So
do we all have the same stats?
Do we all have the same stats?
Are we all together on this one?
Are we all in agreement here? And it was just yes. So
Well,
of a way to get it started, man.
Well, anybody else on the baseball side before we move on?
Yeah, we got Springfield still alive too. And they'll be hosting, and they're in the second round now, so these will be 3-game series. They'll be hosting 3-game series. I went and saw Walker last night. They wind up beating Destrehan 5-0. Like Coach Kent Sandifer said, it's one of those deals where you'll look at it and see 5-0, but it
was a close game.
It was. I mean, David was there taking pictures.
They couldn't hit the lefty.
Caleb Webb had a 2-hitter. He and Grant Edwards combined on a 2-hitter, and they get a big 3-run double in the 5th inning. They score all of their runs in the 5th inning. So like Coach Sandifer said, you're going to see 5-0, and you're going to say, "Oh, they beat them pretty good." It was 1 inning. I think they got 5 of their 6 hits in that 1 inning.
Yeah, I mean, they had the inning before they stranded a guy on third because you had a guy tried to bunt the ball, popped up in the air. Infielder caught it, threw it to first for a double play to end the inning. Yeah, and it was just they had trouble with that. But I mean, it's the playoffs, so all those teams are good.
Spencer Murray hit that double to put them ahead, but it was how they got there that was really cool. They lay down a couple bunts and it was small ball to kind of they get a walk, and then Hunter Bethel comes on, and I don't know if you remember this play, but he bunts it, and it just kind of stays up in the air, and it just
perfect bunt.
Just kind of they're supposed to go on the ground, and it just kind of floats, and it lands in between first and second. I was like, that's a hit, And then they come back with the very next one, and they go down the third base line, so they got them loaded up immediately, And then Cameron Crow comes on, and he's kind of. Coach said he's kind of struggled, but in the last week or so, he's kind of turned it on. He gets a hit, gets that first run, and then that leads to the double, But Coach said the way Bethel's been hitting the ball, he said he's calling him his MVP, and he was really surprised. He goes, it wouldn't have surprised me the way it worked out if he would have bunted that ball and it would have rolled all the way to the fence for a double or a triple the way he's hitting the ball right now. So, it's just playoffs and things start rolling your way, and it turns into momentum, and that's exactly what happened with Walker last night.
So they're going to be looking to carry that forward. Who they have in the next
exactly.
round?
Let me check this out. Let me go make sure. So we get this right here.
Well, they'll be playing on Friday though, so yeah, we have plenty of action the next couple days. I will be with Rob in Sulphur covering softball. That will be yours truly covering the baseball games, getting all the photos and all that stuff. So it's gonna be a busy weekend. And in case y'all haven't heard, we have Cinco Fest this weekend. That's coming back. So yeah, that's another thing going on with the owner of Casa Maria and Watson. It's a popular Mexican restaurant in Livingston Parish. They have one of the biggest celebrations every year. I mean, I went to it the last official one that they had in 2019, and I mean, yeah, 5,000-6,000 people there. I mean, a big crowd, big stage, music, food, drinks, all the fun that you can have, and they're coming back this year again. They got some good news. I talked to the owner Fahim earlier today, and he got incredibly lucky because the day after they announce it, the governor is, they get rid of the restrictions on crowd sizes and stuff. So I mean, it's gonna be a fun turnout. They're having Chase Tyler Band, Bag of Donuts, the Molly Ringwalds, for people who follow those bands. So yeah, Casa Maria this Saturday, May 1st, gonna be a big day. And what you got, Rob? I stalled for you long enough.
That's cool, man.
We had to make sure that we did not have dead air.
Yeah, I know you got it, man. It's good. We make it work. We've been doing this a while now. This is episode 8, man.
Yeah, exactly. This is we're developing some report here. Hey, let me look this in. Well, I'm David Gray, and I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Veteran move right there. So Walker is gonna have West Ouachita, which defeated Acadiana. West Ouachita is your number 22 seed. They beat Acadiana 3-1. Acadiana was the 11 seed.
Oh wow!
So that's playoff.
So they'll be rolling folks. In with some momentum.
Playoff baseball, folks. So and then Doyle and Springfield will also be at home for their series.
Gotcha. So, with that being said, we have now covered softball and baseball. Remember, be on the lookout for Mr. David Gray with photos of the baseball teams that are going to be at home. I can't make them all. There aren't 5 of them. Or 3 of them.
I will be going to 2 of them though Friday night. So
he'll be around for plenty.
It's a really cool thing when David texts me and goes, "Hey, what's going on today?" So and then we just kind of sit down and say, kind of where should we go? And a lot of it is predicated on David's schedule and my schedule,
sure,
just in terms of where we go.
Well, these two rocking it and getting out good pictures, and it's pretty cool to watch David's photos because every game they improve. It was fun. Fun going through the settings and things with him. God, that was only about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
I was looking in Rob's folder. I've done 15 games in the last, I think 4 weeks.
He was ready to get out there and do it. So, good practice for him, and he's getting better every week. So please check those photos out. Please follow Rob on Twitter because he will be in Sulphur covering the semifinals and hopefully the finals. As you said, there may end up with 2 teams playing each other.
Possibility you get Doyle and French Settlement going there, and I was at that game when they played over at Doyle, and like I said, I think last time we were on here, it just seems like every time they play each other, it's a competitive game. French Settlement was down 3-0 in that game and came back, scored 2 runs, and had a runner on first in the 7th. So, I mean, you never know. You just never know.
So, David, you got to talk about Cinco Fest, which is happening in Watson. Of course, Poppy's will also be open in Denham Springs. And I think most Mexican restaurants are inviting people to come out, try to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. A lot of folks, please try to go out and support these companies, even if you just order food. A lot of them had already paid and set up for their Cinco de Mayo celebrations last year and lost out on a lot of that. So, I know a lot of these restaurants that usually have something going on are not this year because of that. So please try to give them your support. Other things that are going on with regard to the Parish Springfest was a hit. Mm-hmm. And I do believe Walker's brand new Springfest was also a hit as well. So give us a little rundown on those 2.
Yeah, no, I mean, Springfest, Denham Springs Springfest. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Denham Springs Springfest. So that first one, that was Saturday, the 24th, and it went as well as they could have hoped for. The weather even held up because that was really the only fear was whether or not the weather was gonna just ruin everything. And I mean, it cleared out. I mean, that morning around like 9-ish. I wasn't in Denham before. I got to Denham about 30 minutes after Springfest actually started. So it was clear when I got there, and the few hours that I was there, basically I told someone this the other day, when I'm at Springfest, I'm basically walking in a big circle about 50 to 60 times. I'm just walking around taking photos, because you have all these vendors and booths lined up and down Range Avenue. So I'm just walking in a giant circle the entire time, getting photos, talking to people. But I mean, all of them were just thrilled that it was actually back. And I mean, you could see if you look at some of the photos of some of the crowd shots I have. I mean, there was a bunch of that was much needed in the antique district after the last year. Just having the crowds come there, spending money, putting money back into the local economy. That's something that's been sorely needed. Even though, like I was talking to Mr. Al Bai, the president of the Merchants Association, local people have been spending money in the antique district. It's been. He said that they have had, other than that first initial scare during COVID, it has improved a lot since the fall. The spending in the antique district, and I mean, Springfest. I don't know the final numbers from that, but I mean, just from from the amount of people that was there, I can imagine that it was a big day, probably the biggest they've had in I would say. When was the last Springfest? 2019, or last Fall Fest was 2019. So yeah, I mean, more than a year. That was probably the biggest day they've had there. So that was big. And then yeah, like you said, Walker had their Springfest. Their first. It's more of a fair, honestly. I think they might change the name next year. But no, I mean, it was a big turnout. They had a car show, farmers market, and then they had a bunch of rides, Ferris wheel, all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, we got plenty of photo galleries from both of those as well. So it was just good to get out again. That's really the biggest takeaway. I feel like that's the main thing that everybody said. Good to get out again and to do stuff again with other people.
Definitely, and I mean both of those events experienced large crowds. It was very pleasing to the vendors who were participating in it, as well as the cities. So very much a benefit for everybody involved, and it was good to see folks back out in the sun. Right. What else do you have going on coming up later, other than baseball?
Well, we got graduations coming up soon, and that's also something we're trying to get started this year. If you have a senior that you want photographed and put in our newspaper, I would be at 7 of the graduations, and then my beloved boss will hopefully be at the other 2 that I will be shooting during. So, but no, you can call the news office at 665-5176. Oh, yeah, I got that number right. That was a total guess.
That is a 225 area code.
225, I forgot that part. And ask for Miss Karen Brooks. That's something that we're trying to get off the ground a little bit this year. Because like I said, at those graduations, me and McHugh, we take hundreds of photos, and we try to get as many as we can, because that's something special for the entire family, that graduation ceremony. And that's usually some of the most shared photo galleries that we have, because just a time of celebration. So if you have a senior that you want us to photograph, and you want to possibly have him or her put in the paper, call the news office, ask for Karen Brooks. But that's the big thing coming up, besides we said Cinco de Mayo, but yeah, that's the next big thing on the horizon, our graduations.
Hard to believe, isn't it? 2.5 weeks away.
Yeah, senior's last day is a week from, this is coming on Thursday, a week from tomorrow.
Yep.
8 days, and seniors will be done after this crazy year that I did not think we were going to get to this point.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it's good. Last year, eventually we're able to find a way into those graduations. I think it was late June when we went through that, went through all that.
Right.
So this year, no delays.
Delayed my vacation last year.
Oh, no.
Actually, no. Excuse me. Canceled my vacation last year.
Well,
not delayed.
A little worse, but yeah, last year was tough, but eventually they pulled them off. We got to go cover a lot of those. Let's see. I think I did Holden at Walker, and you had Live Oak in the same night. So we're going to have to discuss what the schedule is going to be this year. So remember, folks, plenty coming up this weekend. Cinco de Mayo is next Wednesday, I believe. But a lot of things are going to be happening this weekend to kind of give people the weekend to celebrate it, because Cinco de Mayo doesn't quite hit the same on a Wednesday. So please remember, follow David as he's going to be taking photos of baseball. Plenty going on this weekend as well. Please follow Rob on Twitter. He will be out in Sulphur for the softball playoffs. Baseball still at home.
Baseball.
So anyway, guys, going to ask you guys to introduce yourself as we head out today. David, we're going to start with you.
David Gray, lifestyle editor with the Livingston Parish News.
Hey, this is Rob D. Armand, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us for this episode of Group Therapy, where we sit down and we talk about everything that's going on with Livingston Parish. I want to let folks know, quick rundown of what's going on in my world. the bond issuance for the new stadium facilities at Denham Springs High School did pass this weekend. So they'll be moving forward to commit to drawings and things like that and trying to get that construction started. Wouldn't expect it next school year, but probably the year after. Also, we did sit down with Councilman Gary Frog Talbert on Tuesday to discuss those substantial damage letters that you got in the mail. If you did get one, if you're just curious about the story, it is an interesting story. Check it out. You might end up getting a letter later. So if you are in a flood hazard area, please check those out. Also got to sit down with Mayor Gerard Landry this morning to discuss what's going on in terms of annexation in the city of Denham Springs. That'll be up tomorrow, Thursday. Of course, this one going up this afternoon, Wednesday. And then tomorrow, sitting down with James Adam McCants and Stacy Phipps from Sporting Center. We're going to be talking about what they do. Also going to be talking a little bit about what it's like to have someone drive through the north side of your building. So that will be coming up Thursday. That'll run this Friday, the 30th. Always appreciate these two gentlemen joining us. Please remember that the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. It's $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. Also, we're going to have a surprise for you guys next week. It may or may not be that you'll actually see us doing this show. You're going to have to wait and see. So we do hope you have a great weekend. Don't forget to follow Rob and that softball action and David in that baseball action, and we will see you next time.